Madam Speaker, on page 26 of the calendar number 559, favorable report of the Joint Standing Committee on Insurance and Real Estate, Senate Bill number 1029, an act concerning health insurance coverage for autism spectrum disorders.
Representative Abercrombie of the 83rd.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good evening. Madam Speaker, I move for the acceptance of the Joint Committee's report and passage of the bill in concurrence with the Senate.
The question before us is acceptance of the Joint Committee's favorable report and passage of the bill in concurrence with the Senate. Representative Abercrombie, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the clerk has an amendment, LCO 6154. I ask that the clerk call the amendment and that I be granted leave of the chamber to summarize.
Will the clerk please call LCO number 6154, which will be designated Senate Amendment Schedule A.
Madam Speaker, LCO number 6154, designated Senate Amendment A, and offered by Senator Crisco et al.
The representative seeks leave of the chamber to summarize the amendment. Is there any objection to summarization? Is there any objection? Hearing none, Representative Abercrombie, you may proceed with summarization.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the amendment makes the underlying bill a better bill by making tighter the regs around it. The underlying bill specifies that individuals with autism spectrum disorder that were diagnosed under the DSM-IV will continue to receive insurance coverage for covered services that we approved back in 2008. You know, when the new definition was coming out, there was a lot of anxiety and frustration with the families that are on the spectrum. And what this bill does is, I'd like to call it the safety net. It makes sure that these families that are already receiving these services continue to receive these services. And I would like to just take this opportunity to thank Chairman Magnum and Chairman Crisco for their hard work on this bill and their continued support. And someone else in this chamber who has been a huge advocate on this issue, and someone that I rely on a lot around this issue, and that's my colleague, Representative Hwang, who, you know, year in and year out helps me on these issues. And to my chamber members, you know, we've done a lot of great things through the years around autism, something that we should all be proud about, and this just continues down that path. I move adoption.
The question before the chamber is an adoption of Senate Amendment Schedule A. Will you remark on the amendment? Representative Wood of the 141st.
I would like to defer to Representative Hwang.
Representative Hwang of the 131st.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to rise in support of this amendment. I would like to take a few moments to thank the fantastic work that the good representative from the 83rd District has put into this, not only this year, but since the origination of this coverage for autism in 2008. And her work has been peerless, and I want to thank her. At the same time, I want to thank the good colleagues in this chamber, as well as take a moment to recognize the input of the ranking member of Insurance and Real Estate, Representative Sampson. And I also want to thank the good work of my good colleague, Representative Kokoruda, who's done some good work in this as well. But most important of all, I want to thank the parents and the advocates for autism who have given so much. They are truly the people that we want to give thanks to and recognize that for all that they do it for their children. They do it for the people that are impacted by autism. So I would ask that we fully support this and recognize that this is simply a continuation of a bill that was passed in 2008. And we are ensuring that regardless of whatever happens with the diagnostic interpretations or the Affordable Care Act, that we continue to be responsible and maintain our commitment to those families and children and those unborn children that will be impacted by autism. This is something that I'm very proud to be a part of, and I'm even prouder to be a part of a team that is committed nonstop to making sure that we cure this disease. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Kokoruda of the 101st.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand in support of this amendment. I also stand to thank the co-chairs of the Insurance Committee and Representative Hwang, and especially Representative Abercrombie, for her leadership on this issue. This amendment simply ensures that all of our children who are receiving services now do not lose them. And any change in the definition could have a wide range impact on our kids, and it's a concern in the autism community. Autism Speaks, which is one of the most well-known autism organizations and has done so much, is decided to do a national survey of families and professionals to see just how DSM-5 is going to impact these families. So I think this bill is so important because we don't have that information yet. And finally, it is a concern of the autism community, and I'm one of them, that redefining autism, it's a red flag for those of us who know people are concerned about the skyrocketing number of people diagnosed under the spectrum. But redefining autism spectrum disorders certainly isn't what we're looking for. So, again, thank you for your leadership, Representative Abercrombie. Thank you. I encourage my colleagues to support this amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Representative. Representative Wood of the 141st.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Speaker, I also stand in support of this bill. I think so many of us are here to help others, and this is a perfect example of a safety net that we can prevent and help for those who really need this. So I hope you all will join us in supporting this. Thank you, Madam Chair. Speaker.
Representative Zebran of the 34th.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I also rise in support of the amendment, but the amendment, but I do have a question to the proponent. In my community, Madam Speaker, we have a world-renowned school called Franklin Academy. And Franklin Academy in East Haddam is a boarding and day school for students with nonverbal learning differences and specifically Asperger's syndrome. I also have a godson with Asperger's syndrome, and I think, unfortunately, may know somebody who is afflicted with some spectrum disorder of autism. And my question to the proponent, through you, Madam Speaker, is the redefinition, and I really don't know, does that take out the Asperger's, or how is that redefinition going to affect a wonderful community school like Franklin Academy in my district? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Abercrombie.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That's an excellent question. I think a lot of the anxiety throughout the autism community was around that specific diagnosis. What was going to happen to our Asperger kids, which are the high-functioning ones? From everything I've read, and I'm not an expert, but I do a lot of reading on it, the Asperger kids are going to be protected under the new definition. With that said, from what I have read, is that the kids that are on the more severe part, the lower part of the spectrum, will be affected, which is even scarier, because these are the kids that we know, if they get the early intervention, can succeed successfully through life. Without that interventions, there's a lot more challenges for them. We are still waiting for the guidelines, even though the definition did come out last weekend. The guidelines, my understanding, will not be out before October, which is really scary because it still gives these families a lot of anxiety. So that's why I think this legislation is so important, to be the safety net for these families. But good question, Representative.
Representative Zebran of the 34th.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I just want to thank the gentlelady for that answer. It's when we see those kinds of changes that affect these kids who are so special and yet, like you say, so brilliant on that level. And I've had the opportunity to spend some time at Franklin Academy with some of those children, and they do amazing things there. And like I said, I'm proud to stand up and support this amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the ranking members and the good chair for all of her work.
Will you remark further on the amendment that is before us? If not, I will try your minds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted.